Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, which is currently a little bit of a mess. It's been bothering me lately, and today we are going to fix that. So clearly, I'm somebody with a lot of books. I read a lot, I'm a bookseller, I make booktube videos, books are a big part of my life, and that is not going to change anytime soon. So I want to make something very clear. I am not hoping that this video ends in like a massive unhaul, because at the end of the day, most of these I have bought for myself, and at some point in time I was interested in reading, and the fact is my reading taste over time fluctuates. So maybe we need to look at creating like a separate pile for those kinds of books, the kinds of books that like are on probation basically, or need to earn their spot on my shelf. As with every bookshelf unhaul / organization, I kind of don't really know what's in front of us. All I know is that my bookshelves are bothering me and it's time we fix them up. So I know that there are already a handful of books that aren't on my shelf at the moment that I do want to DNF. These are all books that I read or tried to read recently that I just didn't like. I mean, I DNF'd this one pretty quickly, and I didn't like hate any of these books, but I will never want to reread them, so I don't see the point in keeping them. Just having a quick overview, are there any books that I'm just like ready to let go of? Honestly, it's kind of hard because I have so many books that are like hiding other books. Nope, you know what? I don't think there is. I really just don't think there are any books that I am just ready to cut without even giving any kind of second chance to. And I do feel like I've already been pretty selective in the books that I chose to keep after I finished reading them. So I think we just need to get stuck into actually rearranging the shelves. And one thing I was thinking is that I'm not sure I'm loving the kind of separated out like fiction and genre fiction. At the moment, I've got kind of more literary fiction and general fiction up the top. And then we've got fantasy and science fiction. Then we've got a mystery over here. Then we've got nonfiction and manga. And I don't know if you can see, but down here is the poetry and short story collections, that sort of stuff. That definitely needs more space. But I think I'm procrastinating. I just need to get stuck into rearranging the shelves and putting all the fiction together, alphabetized. And then I think we'll have a better sense of like the space that we're actually working with. So let's go. I feel like we're making progress slowly. I never know what to do with my Margaret Atwood books. Margaret Atwood is the author that like made me fall in love with reading when I was like 16, 17. But I think of these books very fondly. But obviously there's so fucking many of them and they just don't fit very neatly into these kind of boxy shelves. I have to keep them sort of there and then just work everybody around her, even if the alphabet kind of gets a little messed up here. Honestly, if that's the worst thing that happens to us today, I think we're having a pretty good day. Robbie can go over here. That messes up the alphabet more than I wanted to, but at least it fits. Okay, so I think that's kind of roughly A to G done. Now I need to get started on the H's. I feel like we're not doing too badly. We're not doing great, but we're not doing too badly. That was bound to happen at some point. Oh, I mean, one of our mystery books that I have never got around to reading, but doesn't this look fun? Maybe I'll read it over Christmas, who knows? You never know with me, you just have to wait and see what kind of mood I'm in. Okay, I think that's everything up to O done on this shelf now. So are we going to be able to fit? I don't think we're going to be able to fit the rest of the alphabet on the third row. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. We might have to do some unhauling just to make some space. I'll think about that when I get there. Let's just keep going. Okay, I think I've done my best up until about R, the beginning of S, but I mean, we have obviously haven't figured out these shelves yet. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How many more of these like spaces do I feel like I need for fiction? Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I should have, oh no. I'd been putting a bunch of like my more classic fiction down with my short stories just because I didn't have room. This is Austen. She needs to go up here. Fuck. Maybe this is a good time to just like take a look and see if there's any books that I'm ready to get rid of, even if there's just a handful. Well, one book that I'm kind of not very sure if I'm going to like is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I know that this has been her fan favourite the last couple of years as far as like romantasy is concerned, but I haven't had a very good hit ratio with romantasy, and I've heard a lot of people say that this is kind of comparable to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I didn't like that book. So maybe this is one that we need to start that pile of books that I don't think I'm gonna like or I'm not that interested in anymore. Not necessarily to just get rid of immediately, but we'll do something with that pile later. Okay, that's one book on that pile. Is there any other books that I feel like belong there? Come on, Katey, it's not too much commitment. You're not just getting rid of it. Ooh, one that does come to mind is The City of Brass. I was convinced I was gonna love this, but I was convinced that I was going to love Amina Al-Sarafi by this author. And I didn't hate it, again, but I didn't like it all that much. It just wasn't a book for me. Does that mean that I definitely don't want to read it? No. Does that mean that I'm certain I'm going to hate it? No. Getting the motivation to pick it up is just like not, it's not there. So maybe this is the perfect kind of option to put on that pile. This is a little bit different, but this series by Zen Cho, this first book, The Sorcerer to the Crown, I loved this book. Like, it wasn't a 5-star new favorite, but I just really had a good time reading it. I think it's a great book. But then when I read the second book, like I didn't really like this one. And it feels weird to keep the first one, but not the second one. Like if I ever wanted to reread it, but also it feels weird getting rid of a book I liked so much. I just don't feel like I'm ready to let go of it, even though it is taking up quite a bit of space, considering I didn't like how it ended. I suppose a book that I was really excited for when it was first announced, but like I still haven't read it, and I think it was released in 2022, is This Devastating Fever by Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham is the author of one of my kind of first big favorite non-fiction book, City of Trees. So when I heard she was coming out with like a fiction book, like I was really interested in it. I haven't heard great things about it, and I suppose its release also coincided with me being more interested in fantasy than I was in literary fiction. So kind of both of those things combined just kind of meant that this dropped to the bottom of my list. That's not to say that I don't ever want to read it, but like I don't really care at the moment. So I think this one's going on the pile. I feel like I have to talk about The Night Circus. I mean, obviously not the Sea of Tranquility. What was her book? The Starless Sea? I hated that book so much. So why did I bother picking up a copy of The Night Circus when everybody says it's kind of like similar vibes? I suppose the fact that I did really like her writing and I liked the concept makes me kind of have a bit of grace for the fact that I just didn't care for the book. And it does make me curious about like maybe a different story, different characters. Would that execution work better for me? But I started this kind of when I was still feeling very slumpy. I got about 100 pages in and like I was liking it, but I didn't really care. Am I ready to commit to DNFing it though? Like, this is going to haunt me. It's going to sit on my GoodReads currently reading for like 3 years. I know it. So I feel like we need to put this in the pile. Actually, speaking of my GoodReads currently reading pile, this is a short story collection. It's The Djinn Falls in Love. I picked this up because the author of The Golem and the Jinni, which was my favourite book of last year, had a short story in here. And I've read like almost half of it, a third of it we'll say, and I've been liking a lot of the stories, but I think once I read her story, I kind of like lost any motivation to finish the book. And it's a short story collection, so it's not like I have to restart or anything. I feel like this is one I should try and finish before the end of the year. So it's going on the pile. Oh, okay. This one. I don't even know if I want to admit this on camera, but Shelley Parker Chan's series, She Who Became the Sun, I liked a lot. It was just a whirlwind. It wasn't necessarily the kind of book that I would normally want to read. It's like very high action. There's a lot happening. And I did find it a bit stressful, to be honest with you, even though I liked a lot of what this book was doing. So I like pre-ordered the second book, but it's been so long now that like I feel quite intimidated to pick this one up and dive back into the world when I feel like I probably should reread this one, but I don't want to. I suppose this needs to go on the pile, and I would love to hear from any of you who have read this. If you think I can just dive in and like, even though I'm not somebody who like is the best with my memory as far as like details are concerned, will I be okay or not? Have I missed the boat? So I'm going to keep this on the shelf for now, but this one's going in the pile. Okay, I feel like there are more books that would fit into these two categories, but I feel like fantasy books that I managed to get at very good prices, whether they were secondhand or remainders. And like they're books that kind of sounded cool. I'd heard a bit of hype. I was curious. They were a bargain. I picked up. But now that I haven't read them, I kind of don't really have that much motivation to, which is like a terrible pattern to fall into, I'm aware. But I am worried that these are just going to like sit on my shelf for another few years and then eventually I'll just unhaul them. So I feel like these belong on the pile. Another kind of category of books that probably belong on the pile are just these like mysteries that I picked up. There's a handful of them that I am kind of a little bit more interested in. But like some of them I look at and I'm like, why are you here? You're here because I bought you. I understand. But like, is that a good enough reason to still be here? Okay, a book that I think I can actually get rid of. I have 2 copies of Carpentaria, and I've been keeping it because like this is a lovely limited edition signed copy that I was very excited to find secondhand. This is the easy to read paperback that I actually did read. Like there's something about the book that you actually read, like the copy that you actually read, that I feel more attached to. But like, I don't need to have both of these, especially when it's such a huge book. So I'm going to get rid of this copy, but I will never, ever, ever get rid of this one. No way. Pry it from my cold, dead hands. And some more of those kind of fantasy books that I'm just not entirely sure I'm going to love now that I know my fantasy taste a bit better. But I also bought them because I thought I could like them. So I don't want to get rid of them, but I kind of feel like we might have to do like a chapter for fantasy or something. That could be fun, right? So that's freed up a little bit of space. Let's shuffle everything up and see if that helps at all. I don't think it is going to, not enough anyway. Oh, actually, honestly, I've got a couple more. Another fantasy book that I don't think I'm going to like. I read another book by a different author and everyone compares these 2 authors and I didn't like the book. Ava Reed, Study in Drowning. So now that I've heard everybody compare the 2, I don't have high hopes that I'm going to like this. And then The Mysterious Case of the Appleton Angels. I know everybody loves this as a mystery, but I didn't like, what was the other one by Janice Hallett that everyone liked as well? It just didn't do a lot for me. So I think these need to go on our pile too. Another mystery I'm not too sure about is The Devil in a Blue Dress. I don't know, could be a good time, but when am I ever going to pick it up? I'm not sure. On the pile. We have made a little bit of space. Look at this. I don't want to pack it too tight. I want there to be some room for, you know, when I inevitably acquire some more books. Okay, well, we're up to S now. Let's see like how much we can squeeze in just to these 3 shelves for fiction. I don't have high hopes, but I feel like I just need to try just to get it out of my head that it's an option. S comes to here. Actually, we might do it, you know. Another book that I'm not 100% sure of anymore is Amber in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I feel a little bit more confident that I will like this, but I feel like this would be another great book to throw into like reading through a bunch of fantasy series, like the first books, to see if they belong on my shelves, you know? I do also have the Jasmine thrown here. Don't ask me why, but I'm just a little bit more convinced that I am going to like this. And I'm looking forward to it in a way that I'm not necessarily all those other ones. This series I really need to get back into. Do you remember like late last year, I read a bunch of it and I was obsessed with it. And then I kind of just like never read anymore. That doesn't sound like me, does it? That was very sarcastic, just in case you needed clarification. Oh my God, wait. Wait, we actually have a little bit of space. We did it. We did it. To be fair, there's not a huge amount of space. but there is some space. Okay, that's our fiction done at least. Oop! That's the fiction done, at least for now. We might come back to it and try and tidy it up a little bit, but at least it all fits on those 3 kind of designated rows. The other things I need to organize are the next layer down, is our non-fiction, short stories, anthologies, and the manga. How do I want to do this? I feel like there are some books in here that I probably am ready to let go of. Let me do that first. Maybe there's less than I thought there was going to be. You know what? I think the only kind of 2 books that I feel ready to let go of, I'm sad to see them go, but I can't see myself ever rereading them, is My Friend Fox by Heidi Everett and Old Seems to Be Other People by Lily Brett. Both are Australian memoirs. This one is about the experience of mental ill health. This one is just about being old. I mean, to be clear, I liked both of these books. I would recommend both of these books. I got a lot out of them. I just don't ever see myself rereading them. Sometimes it just seems a little silly to hold on to those kinds of books, especially when you have limited space. Will these all fit in here now? I still think it's going to be a bit too tight. Also, in case you were wondering, I never got rid of this. I don't know if I'll ever reread it, but it was such a special book to me. And yeah, I know I did unhaul it like a year or 2 ago. It's still here and it's not going anywhere. I'm still not going to be able to fit all these. They come close, but just not quite. Got to keep all my Raja Shahade books together. I have so many of them now. I can fit everything except these on here. Are any of them ready to let go of? I think maybe Decolonizing Solidarity by Claire Land. I've read most of this book. I've skimmed through this book. I worked through this book in a uni course and I got a huge amount out of it. It's one of those books that I don't necessarily see myself returning to in the same way that I might others. So this one can go. Maybe a bit of a shuffle around will help. Let's see. Ooh, wait. Is it going to fit? Oh, I think we can fit it. I think we can fit it. Okay, there we go. There we go. We did it. That's all my non-fiction and it fits. I nearly fell over. Okay, I feel good about that. There's still heaps of non-fiction here that I have read that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I want to return to. There's heaps of non-fiction here that I haven't yet read, but I'm looking forward to. I think I will have to go through and reorganize it a little bit. I've sort of got some like Aboriginal, Indigenous resistance kind of books. I've got Palestine books. I've got autism books. I've got some more like general like disability, mutual aid, organizing. And then I've got some more like memoir-y, pretty writing kind of books too. I'm feeling good about that. As for the collections that are just kind of like squished into here and overflowing, I think if we kind of move the manga over, because I have gone through my manga recently and gotten rid of some, honestly, there's probably more I could get rid of. Like, am I ever going to reread Skullface Bookseller Honda-san? Maybe I'll just keep the first one. The first one was the best, but I don't need to keep all of these. It's not that good that I'm going to reread it. I think the manga now will definitely fit into just 3 of those boxes, which gives me 2 for the short stories and the poetry, which I think will be perfect. Okay, let's do that then. Let's bring the short stories and the poetry into this section. Am I ever going to reread Girl on the Shore? No, I'm not. That was horrible. Beautifully drawn and like the illustrations are incredible, but horrible to read. Oh my God, I forgot I had some of these. They've been like stuck at the bottom of that shelf and I've just like forgotten that they're here. Oh, this one I bought, it's like about the experience of bipolar, which like I'm pretty sure I never had. And so I'm less inclined to read it now, but I'm sure it's still beautiful. I'll keep it for now. Not Some is another series that I need to get back to. I feel like I must be like at least 2/3 of the way through it now. Oh, and look at that. I've got plenty of space. Too much space. But I do feel good about that. We've unhauled not a lot of books, let me show you. So, these are the books that we're unhauling. I'm done with them. There's no stopgap between here and the op shop or little libraries. They're going. Might see if some of my friends want some of the manga, but I don't think they'd be into the rest of them. Oh, and then I forgot we also unhauled these 4 books at the very beginning. So we've got like a handful of books to unhaul. And then we've got 2 pretty generous stacks of books that clearly don't fit on the shelves. And I'm also not really sure if they fit into my life as a reader. I think it's good to kind of have them off the shelf and in like their own separate section so that I can maybe take some time, like go through some of those books, reevaluate them. Let me know if you'd be up for a reading vlog where I do kind of like either try a chapter or just read until like I'm not interested anymore and be pretty ruthless with DNFing to like get through these books that I'm not really sure if I'm interested in to begin with. Like allow myself to be happily surprised by some of them, but not to kind of force myself through the entirety of like a 500-page fantasy book I'm not even that into. Also, please do let me know if there's any in these piles that you are convinced I will like actually. And please feel free to let me know in the comments. Try to convince me. Try to convince me why this book deserves to stay on my shelf. Or if there's any books that you just really, really want to see me read, feel free to let me know those as well. But I'm really happy with this. I'm happy with my books just being separated out into like the major categories of non-fiction and fiction, and then obviously the anthologies. I think that just works a little bit better for like the amount of books I had. I think if you have a bigger library, it makes more sense to separate them out by genre. But with the books that I have, like, yes, I have a lot of books, but it just kind of gets weird trying to like keep them on a single shelf, keep them separated, but then also like break them up and categorize them out. Like it's just more messy than it is useful, which defeats the purpose. I'm a little concerned that this video won't be very like fun to watch because I'm not doing a huge unhaul. I feel like we've been conditioned to enjoy those a lot more than just like a nice little organizational video. But if you have made it all the way to the end, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. I hope this is as satisfying to you as it is to me, because this feels good. A big thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon, and especially big thank you to Livia, Lynette Brown, and Marie. And thanks so much for watching. I will chat with you in the comments, and I'll see you next week. So much love. Bye.